Yeah, dear ladies and gentlemen, this is for the electronic records in European Union court case in the proceedings of existing European Court of Human Rights court case with involvement of European Court of Justice into the functional duties and personal responsibilities for inactivities, performed crimes, violences and criminal power offenses. In the Republic of Latvia are happening on public discriminations with criminal power offenses through the court and government system criminal performances. All the NETs at the level of black performances on the prosecution level are remotely controlled. However, non-functional duties of all these mentioned structures are still distracting and destroying the whole government objective existence with artificially leaded out of law systems. What I would like to note that black criminal representatives starting from the France in the prosecution system performances, the female at the prosecution level and all her systematic docs over the European Union electronic nets must be taken under strict control. Their kids can be kidnapped for forced colonization and forced slavery on the islands. There is no other option to explain to black representatives their personal responsibilities or how they must react onto the crimes or own tries of criminal performances, since legal responsibilities can't be applied if the ignorances of functional duties are continuing without any legal responsibilities. Black woman from the France, which is connecting to various types of electronics and is involved in criminal systematic managements in the European Union countries, isn't realizing that security of the territories are more important than any commercial values. All mentioned black performances at the prosecution with black dogs, so-called systematic players, must be having effectiveness in functionalities. If they want to compete, they will be set for fatally legal measures without abilities for protection in the purposes of government securities, since national legislation at their level isn't actually working. Concerning the level of highest courts and the highest court of Republic of Latvia in present performances are led by the actual thieves and criminals which must be justified. They are still playing games which are destroying people, destroying societies, destroying activities and destroying systems by the artificial managements which must be actually justified by law. Concerning the chairman of the highest court of Republic of Latvia, he must be prosecuted by law to prison with a freedom taking up to 7 years by the criminal law article 341. For the unpublic crimes and extreme cruelties with unpublic executions or abilities for protection, he must be taken by the United States forces for this period in prison for any activities the Americas are willing to perform with him. After the freedom taking in prison, he can be simply murdered by law. Criminal mentalities, especially in authoritative performances, isn't possible to direct to official functionalities if legal responsibilities aren't followed. Wills to have a power above legality with any types of criminal methods of management, including systematic at the ministerial level, such as COVID managements in the various types of commercial organizations, are destroying the freedoms of citizens, legal earnings of the commercial organizations, and managements by themselves. Concerning systems which are leaded out of law in the national governments with own representatives or same-minded employees at the court level, only strictness of disciplinary measures with official responsibilities can set the performances to official functionalities. Systems which are led from abroad by any types of interests, such as Germany or Belgium or any other, such as Holland, with various types of interests within other territories of the European countries, must be obeyed by the force to national legality of the countries in which they are getting or representing any own interests. Concerning security and freedoms of the citizens, if any courts are deciding for anyone, any citizen, any organization, or any population representative that his destiny or his freedoms are anyhow restricted, they must be following national legality, where personal responsibilities are inevitable to any representatives at any system. Concerning the blue performances at the political level with television feedbacks and influence to so-called raw public and prisoners, prison managements, let's say so, justice of their crimes, cruelties, and competitional discriminations must be strictly within objective laws and official systematic performances. There is no way of protection of the population from permissive performances in the government court or political crimes if such are simply ignored, or if such are so-called quiet within public executions. Every single crime or the violence can be found out within the global spots. If the criminal mentality is thinking that they will be able to escape from official responsibilities, especially in the systematic crimes, that is mistaken thinking, and especially in European Union court case, the European courts will be forced to execute functional duties in legal justice as per existing facts and national legislation, as well as European conventions of human rights. Any violences will be justified with no abilities for protection at any managing level, whether such as judges, systematic executives, or the court managers. Blue performances in the leveled managements are too dangerous to civil orders and criminal orders in the national territories, which isn't actually followed if strictness of official consequences aren't applied for any types of crimes. Authoritatively criminal power keeping, such as was in 1990s, 1991, 1993, historical record about the thieves' power and authoritative performances in the highest institutions of the governments will be over since inevitability of official consequences in European Union court case is 100% over the Europe, partly over the globe, since electronic threats and direct and indirect involvements were found through the deep investigation of systematic crimes, interests for computational power keeping, etc. Concerning the France, I would like to explain to the black-minded performances that any types of criminal power offenses without actual or official reasons is the subject for forced legal responsibilities without abilities for protections. If that is not clear to the systematically leaded employees, their systems can be simply collapsed, but private lives will be forced to official consequences with the same anonymous executions, just to understand the power of legality. Concerning the labels in the European Union court case, where the main subject is son's custody from criminal colonization of Riga city, as well as justice of crimes and reimbursements for created losses, is the subject for marking the involvements with that label in objective world, because ignorances of legal obligations which are placed to national courts in Republic of Latvia and the third parties, such as involved commercial organizations for strict executions of functional duties, is worsening the legal consequences. Today, on the 3rd of September 2021 was sent a registered letter to European Court of Human Rights with final documentation and related attachments for execution from the post office section number 2, Ventspils City. This post office is controlled remotely in the S systems, therefore guarantees that this letter will be delivered are about 79% approximately. However, the electronic threat will be followed with all involvements. Responsibility of government services related to post offices will be strictly controlled via the managers. Managers will be controlled for possible corrections and or appointing of legal consequences in case of violences. Centralized controls of the court system doesn't allow to perform restrictional crimes against any citizens or any organizations. Non-justice of appointed crimes or the systematic artificial regulatories is a subject for forced justice of the ones who aren't executing functional duties. Black performances in private annex with the French, Dutch, Russian representatives are remotely controlled. However, their perceptions isn't possible to change until the moment forced consequences will be applied without abilities for protection. Concerning the kids' questions, which are trying to be controlled by the black systematic performances from abroad, all the indirect involvements are founded out, and their kids can be kidnapped if the kids are girls. They can be set for the special prostitution for the forced loyalty, because the ones who are actually working out criminal performances in the forced obeys aren't realizing that such performances can be applied to themselves without abilities for protection. Statuses, nationalities, males, or the ages aren't important in strictly official proceedings. Religions, territorial belongings are secondary to official issues. Freedoms of citizens isn't allowed to touch if any authoritative decisions or systematic requests are performed with various types of interests, even though corruption is trying to override functionalities of existing European courts. I need that legal functions would be above competitional wills of any types of power or thieves' psychologies for artificial benefits with criminal performances. Concerning the criminal females' mentalities in the government structures such as police or the prisons, disciplinary measures must be adjusted by the forced responsibilities and picking up of the level of competences under the commercially motivated benefits. To lead the countries which are loyal to criminal managements isn't that easy if the appropriate structures aren't actually acting against permissive cruelties or crimes or public discriminations. Solutional performances is the best option for any types of government, court or prosecution functionalities. Real facts must be the reason for legal activities. If the legal activities are not beneficial but functional duties states to perform such, then benefits must be secondary from actual functionalities. If black-minded, led by the commerce people and systematic players are thinking that commerce can set the security of the governments or their beneficial performances, this is mistaken thinking, because actual governments might be simply destroyed by the criminals, which will not be justified since legislation will simply be ignored. Same as in my case, where authoritative criminals are performing various types of cruelties with unpublic executions. Concerning European Court of Human Rights and European Court of Justice, herewith would like to request to execute received documents in appropriate terms. Previously received documents concerns must be taken into account for precision of execution. Concerning black performances in the electronics in France, artificial separation of levels will not release any person, any status from official responsibility. As everybody knows, objective legality is above computer. However, computers are trying to overtake such by artificial crimes, which must be strictly justified for internal orders, citizens' freedoms and government securities. Thank you for attention.